Are you thinking about selling your home? Well, there might be some steps you want to take that really move the needle, that'll improve the value of your property, and there are things that you want to take into consideration that might hinder your sale at the negotiation table. I'm Jamie Mushaw with Jamie Mushaw Real Estate, and if you're new to this channel, we talk about all things real estate in Vancouver, Washington, and surrounding areas including Camas, Washougal, Battleground, as well as the Portland metro area. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about today are going to be decluttering, staging, curb appeal, maintenance items that you need to do to your home, and items that really may derail the sale of your home that you don't think about prior to putting your home on the market. Let's get into one of the very first things that you're probably going to do when you're thinking about putting your home onto the market, and that is decluttering. Typically, before you put your home on the market, you would want a 60 to 90 day window to make sure that you have all the time that you need to get your home prepped to put it on the market. So when you're decluttering the home, clean and minimal space helps buyers visualize themselves in the home and where their furniture might fit. One of the first things that you're really going to want to do is remove all your personal items. That includes family photos, just things that are of value in the property. You want to secure those and put them away. And then also anything in the rooms that might make it feel smaller. If you have oversized furniture, we might want to remove that from the home and put it in the garage or storage. Again, that gives the home a visually bigger feel, and it's going to allow the buyer to see how their furniture or their items might fit into the home. And you want to really use this time, 60 to 90 days before you put it on the market, to make sure that you get as much stuff out of the house that you may not need while you're living there, and just really declutter it to the point that it's going to just show picture perfect when a buyer comes in to take a look at your home. Some of the really main things that you want to look at when you're decluttering is the kitchen counters. You want to have as little as possible on those because it's really going to show the workspace for somebody that might love to cook. Bathroom vanities, you want to try to clear off those as much as possible as well. Clear out any closets of things that you do not need. And the entryway is really important because you don't want to take away that first initial feel when someone walks into the house, because that's going to be the first impression of when they walk in the door. Now let's talk about some of the things that you can do to your home when prepping it for sale that's not going to cost you a lot of money, but it's going to give you the biggest return. First and foremost, interior paint. Interior paint is going to give you the highest return out of anything that you can do to your home. Usually it's over 100% return, as long as you're using the right colors, which are typically going to be whites, light beiges, light grays, that appeal to a wide range of buyers. And why you want to repaint the interior of your home is it just gives that fresh, new, bright feeling. It will typically make the home feel bigger as well. One thing I want to caution you on is if you do repaint all of your walls on the interior of your home, you really need to pay special attention to the baseboards and doors and ceilings, especially if you haven't painted the home in a while. Those are things that you might have to repaint as well when you go to repaint the interior of your home. Let's chat about some of the other things that you can do to your home that are going to bring some great return back to you. Now, one of which you might not know or you might be surprised about is replacing your garage door. A garage door does bring a large return back when you replace it. It makes your exterior of your home look a little bit more modern, and it gives a great curb appeal and first impression when a buyer pulls up to the house and sees it for the first time. Another thing that you can do is making sure that all of the light bulbs match within the house. I know that sounds funny, but matching light bulbs throughout the house, usually I will recommend to my sellers that they use daylight light bulbs. Now, when you first replace them, they're gonna seem extra bright to you and out of the ordinary, but it's something that I recommend to my sellers all the time because again, it's just gonna give that bright feeling in the home and it's gonna make it feel bigger. And another thing that you can do after you've done all of these things is have the home deep cleaned right before you put it on the market. It's just gonna give it that fresh feeling, it's gonna smell good, and buyers are gonna love it when they walk in because it's gonna make it feel like the home has been cared for. Staging is something else that you might want to consider when you're putting your home on the market. And the reason for staging is that it creates a purpose for each space in the home, and it helps potentially highlight what those spaces could be used for. Now you can have your home professionally staged, or you can have your realtor help you lightly stage it with the furnishings that you have there. Either way, you're gonna wanna minimize the furnishings that are in each one of those spaces so a buyer has a good vision of what each one of those rooms can be used for. And you want to make sure that you're using appropriately sized furnishings for each one of those spaces. And you really want to define the use of each one of those rooms. Even if you're living in the home, you can have it lightly staged, especially if it's vacant. You definitely want to consider doing it because a home that is staged has a 76% chance higher of selling than one that isn't. So staging is a great way to bring value to your home, and it's a way to visually show a buyer exactly what each room is supposed to be used for. Now let's talk about curb appeal and yard work. It's going to be the attraction from the street when that buyer pulls up and give its very first impression. Here's a quick list of things that you can do to the exterior of the house that's really just going to be more manual work than anything that's going to cost you over the top money. One thing that you can do is touch up paint on any trim. If you have any chipping paint, you don't necessarily have to paint the whole exterior of the house unless it really needs it. The second thing that you can do is have the exterior pressure wash, which is just going to give it a fresh look, especially if you're coming out of a winter season into the spring where it might have a little bit of dirt on it. Third thing that you can do is have new bark dust or mulch put into the yard to give it that fresh look. Minimal plants and seasonal flowers that you can put out front to make it have that warm and inviting feel. Additionally, having the yard mowed and edged right before you put it on the market so that way it looks fresh for any buyers that come out to take a look at it. Again, these are all things that are pretty minimal that will give it that fresh curb appeal when buyers show up to take a look at your home. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about is going to be one of the most important things and can also be some of the most costly things that you have to do to your home. Now, these things are items that I constantly see on inspection reports when buyers come in and make their offer and have their inspections done. And I kind of want to go over these items because these are things that you want to check out 100% before you put your home on the market. Number one, first and foremost, is the age of the roof. If the roof is aging and there's moss on it, you definitely are going to want to have that cleaned so it does not look like it's as old as it may be, especially nowadays with what is happening with insurance companies. The roof age is one of the number one things that is killing deals right now. So if your roof is older than 15 or 20 years, then you're gonna wanna have a roofing company come out and take a look at it and give you a certification of how much time is left in that roof. Usually it'll cost you a couple $100s to have that done. If the roof is at the end of its life, you definitely want to have it replaced if you can afford it prior to putting it on the market, because it's going to give you one less thing to have to negotiate when it comes time to the inspection. Now, the second thing that I see a lot of, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, is our crawl spaces. We live in an area where it's wet in the wintertime. So you want to have your crawl spaces checked out to make sure that there's no water in it. If there's any pooling water down there, you might want to have a company come out and take a look at it and see if a French drain and sump pump needs to be put in, because any standing water can lead to dry rot or mold issues. And those are things things that will scare buyers away, which leads me into another issue that we see constantly on inspections, again, especially in the Pacific Northwest, and that's the attic area. It's an area that you probably don't go into a lot, and if it doesn't have a lot of circulation, or if the roof is older and doesn't have enough venting, mold can form up in your attic areas, and it could lead to having to have remediation done. And if a buyer is not familiar with that process, it's something that can scare them off, and that's the last thing that we want to have happen. So you want to look at having a mold company come out and take a look in your attic, and if it needs to be done, you can have remediation done pretty easily if it's not over the top, and it probably could cost you anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the severity of whatever mold growth is up in your attic, or it could be even less than that if it's not a lot that's up there in the attic area. One of the other things that I constantly see, number one on every inspection, is has the HVAC system, the heating and cooling system, been tested and checked out and looked at anytime in the last 6 to 12 months. If you haven't done that, you want to have an HVAC company come in and test all the systems, making sure that everything is okay with them, and then have them write on the actual HVAC system that you have that has been inspected by them. Keep that receipt and provide it to the buyer. Typically what I do, any receipts that we have had work done prior to putting it on the market, I upload those so agents have those available to provide those to the buyers to give them peace of mind. Now, lastly, one other thing is you might want to consider having your home tested for radon. Radon is a big thing because it's one of the leading causes of cancer. So you might want to have your home tested for radon because you might have to put in a radon mitigation system. And these are really the top things that I look at prior to putting a home on the market to make sure that we are not going to have to negotiate any of these items when we get to the inspection point of it. And again, we provide those receipts to a buyer to make sure that they have peace of mind before they even have the inspection done, because it shows that the seller is taking care of the home and that they want to pass it along in a way that they would want to have it to the new homeowner. So kind of recap and talk about where we want to strategically list these items and prioritize where to spend your budget and money. Number one is going to be your repair and maintenance items, because those things are potentially going to cost you a sale when it comes time for the inspection. So we want to make sure that we have any potential hurdles with those things out of the way before we even put the house on the market. Number two is going to be decluttering, removing any personal items from the home, and then we would move on to painting and any other minor upgrades in the home that could potentially bring you a return by doing those items, and then obviously concentrating on curb appeal and that first impression when a potential buyer pulls up to the home. And lastly, depending on how your budget is if you're going to do any staging to the home or not. So the goal of this is not perfection, it's preparation of the home, and the upfront strategy prevents last minute surprises when we really get into the transaction. So if you have any other questions for me about prepping your home for sale, please ask them down in the comments below. Also, we have a link to a newsletter that's free weekly with some great information in that. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because we have some other great videos coming up here in the future. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jamie Mushaw with Jamie Mushaw Real Estate.